My name is Brian Wells. I'm on the board here at Crossroads, and it's a joy to be able to be back up here and be able to talk at this halfway point of the Game Change campaign of what your Game Change commitments are actually fueling both in Cincinnati and around the world. It's also a joy this morning just to be able to talk a little bit about one of my heroes, William Wilberforce, and the work that he was engaged in that in a very real way we are carrying on today. Wilberforce was in Parliament for, I don't know, maybe it's about 4 or 5 years before he started to kind of really fully come to grip with what was driving the British economy from an import standpoint and how deeply wrecked he was about what he was learning. For those of you that don't know, into the 1700s for Britain, about 80% of the imports of their economy was being driven by what was called the triangular trade. And it was the slave trade that they were engaged in. And over the course of about a year, through study and debate, Wilberforce became a fully committed follower of Christ. And he started looking at the Bible of what God's call was to him as a follower of Christ in the world that he was in. And so Wilberforce became convinced that those words that he would pray on a regular basis, those words of "Our Father who art in heaven," "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven," was a literal truth that he needed to be praying and he needed to be living out. And that is what we are engaged in here. In a very real way, we are engaged of bringing God's kingdom and bringing light into the darkest night. The thing that I love, I mentioned that I love when I'm engaged with our folks on this, is the stories of hope. This is not, we are not talking about hypothetically how we might be able to do something about this. It's actually happening. It's actually happening. And yes, will it take time? Absolutely. We are engaged against long-term systems of injustices here. It will take time and it will take innovation. It'll take innovation on the way that Don and others are doing the work. And you know what? It will take innovation on the way that those of us are providing fuel for that work, the way we think about that as well. One of the things that's known about William Wilberforce is not only how he engaged his entire life on this, but that he was born a very wealthy man and he died penniless. A lot of us in here, we're not called to do that, but we are called to think innovatively about the way we can be part of some of this. I want to let you know, for those of you game changers in here that have been on this journey, and it's not easy, and you've made a commitment, and you've been on this journey, and you may be going in tomorrow morning for yet another 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours standing at the drill press. I want to let you know, you're not just standing there, you're not just punching metal, you are actually changing the game. And if you haven't been able to be part of this thing yet, you need to know you're going to have an opportunity, and it'll be kind of one of those times in your life where you're going to say, what did I do with what I knew? And did I show up? Not did I show up in the way Don did I show up in the way Brian did or Keith did, but did I show up in the way God told me to do? So in 1788, William Wilberforce stood up on the floor of British Parliament and he put forth legislation to abolish the slave trade. And it was defeated. And in 1789, he did the same thing. And again, it was defeated. And he did the same thing in 1790, and 1791, and 1792, and 1793, 1794, 1795, 1796, 1797. In 1798, Wilberforce proposed it again on the floor of Parliament, and it was voted down. In 1799, he did. In 1800, in 1801, in 1802, in 1803, in 1804, in 1805, in 1806, and then on March 25th of 1807, British Parliament voted to abolish the slave trade. And it was just the beginning of the snowball that started to roll for the rest of Wilberforce's life that culminated on July 26th of 1833. British Parliament voted to abolish all of slavery in all British territories. And 3 days later, William Wilberforce died, empty and full. If you're a game changer, that's part of your story.